Now at 6, this is Fox 61, Connecticut's news station.
Good evening and thanks for joining us for the Fox 61 News at 6. I'm Brent Harden.
And I'm Sarah Sanchez. We're following accusations that the state leaders have been silent in the Bridgeport ballot battle. Fox 61 goes straight to the governor tonight.
Fox 61, the only station to talk with Governor Lamont. Our Matt Karen reveals more of our exclusive interview. Matt?
Well, regarding ballot fraud in Bridgeport, Governor Lamont told me, quote, "We caught it, but it was only caught by a whistleblower." That's where the conversation started.
Well, we caught it only because of a leaker. If that didn't happen, none of this would have came to light. I mean, do you have concerns about that?
I do, but look, there were video cameras at each and every one of these places. Everybody knows there are video cameras there. I think that's going to make it a lot less likely that this ever happens again.
But it's important to note cameras at ballot drop boxes are not mandated, and many of them don't have one. Even if they do, who's monitoring them? And their mere presence in Bridgeport wasn't enough to deter a city employee from doing the same thing she was accused of doing in 2019.
I'd like to see the wheels of justice speed up a little bit. Last time, 4 years ago, it took 3.5 years before we could hold somebody accountable.
But Wanda Jeter hasn't been held accountable. The State Elections Enforcement Commission has recommended criminal charges, but that's still pending with the Chief State's Attorney's Office. In fact, according to the Gomes campaign,
the very same operatives are out there.
Speaking of the Gomes campaign, it claims it has asked the governor to step in.
We have elected officials both here and the state level who have been quiet because they're part of the system that's been favoring their election.
I haven't heard a word from them. Not one word.
I asked Governor Lamont, does he think absentee ballot fraud is isolated or systemic?
I don't think it's systemic statewide.
And does he think Mayor Joe Ganim, who spent 7 years in prison, had anything to do with it?
I don't think so. Campaigns are big, busy, messy places.
A messy place where one person was hired to clean it up.
We're going to get it right. We got the election monitor.
But that election monitor doesn't go door to door, which is where ballot harvesting occurs. Despite all we've seen in Bridgeport, Connecticut is looking to expand absentee voting further to what's called no excuse absentee voting. A statewide referendum will be on the ballot in 2024, so you can weigh in.
I don't think that early voting or absentee ballot is the cause of some of these cases of potential corruption. I think it's people who do the corrupting.
Governor Lamont signed early voting into law in June. Beginning next year, it'll allow voters to cast a ballot 14 days before Election Day and 7 days before a primary. As for Bridgeport, still no word on when a new primary will be held. The State Elections Enforcement Commission will meet again Wednesday to provide an update on their investigation. In the studio, Matt Karen, Fox 61, Connecticut's news station.
To the Elm City now, where tonight we are hearing for the first time from friends and family of a University of New Haven student who died in a hit and run last month.
23-year-old Priyanshu Agwal's family back in India say he was getting ready to graduate and start living the American dream.
Fox 61 New Haven County Bureau reporter Julia LeBlanc spoke with him, and she joins us now live from the scene of last month's crash in New Haven. Julia?
Hi, good evening to you both. We are near the intersection of Whaley Ave and Amity Road. Now, this is where police say Priyanshu was hit by a driver who then took off. Now, nearly a month later, his family reached out to us, wanting to honor his memory.
I still feel like I'm in a dream, like I'm in a bad dream.
When Aman Agwal got a call from New Haven police on the night of October 18th, saying his brother was hit by a car and the driver left the scene, he thought it was a scam call. Soon, reality set in.
When one of his friends asked, like, what are the chances? And then they said, like, there are no chances.
Aman, now in his hometown in India, says police told him his brother, 23-year-old Priyanshu Agwal, was traveling on his scooter near the intersection of Whaley Ave and Amity Road when he was hit by a car and left critically injured. A week later, he died in the hospital. Now the family is sending a message to the public.
If you drive car, always take responsibility. If you hit someone, always take responsibility.
The crash happened just 2 months before Priyanshu was supposed to graduate from the University of New Haven. Aman was also a student there, the two getting ready to live the American dream.
He said, like, I want to invite my parents to stay with us. and we will have a good life.
The university recently hosted a celebration of life in Priyanshu's honor.
It's a loss for everybody, like to be losing a friend, a brother, a son like that. I mean, he was always like, if you would sit with him, there is no chance that you're gonna feel sad or anything.
Now, the one thing loved ones are holding on to is that Priyanshu's heart was donated to save another man's life.
I felt like my brother is like a hero. He sacrificed his life for someone else. He came from India as a foreigner, but he became American.
Now, they just need to meet that recipient.
So that they make sure that, okay, he is doing great, he's breathing fine, he's alive. And that would be a great closure for them, for us, for everybody.
Now, the University of New Haven will be posthumously awarding Priyanshu his degree at its commencement ceremony this coming May. Now, as for the investigation, police did not provide any updates at this time. We're live here in New Haven. Julia LeBlanc, Fox 61, Connecticut's news station.
Julia, thank you. And Norwalk police have made an arrest in connection to a fatal hit and run there. James O'Byrne is accused of hitting a motorcycle at the intersection of East Rocks Road and Bain Street on October 28th, and police say he left the scene. The driver and passenger on the motorcycle were taken to the hospital. The passenger, Dawn Kravarik, died from her injuries. Police say the driver is expected to be okay. O'Byrne is being held on $1 million bond.
In New Haven, an 18-year-old's recovering after a shooting. This happened yesterday just before 5 p.m. on Hazel Street. Police say the victim was taken to the hospital with a non-life-threatening gunshot wound to the shoulder and arm. No word on any suspects or arrests. The investigation is ongoing.
New tonight, 9 activists were arrested at the engineering complex of General Dynamics in New London. Today, the activists calling on the company to stop building what they call weapons of mass destruction. They say recently approved upgrades to a group of submarines will give the vessels destructive capabilities, violating the treaty on the prohibition of nuclear weapons. The 9 people arrested are charged with trespassing, disorderly conduct, and criminal mischief. Police say they were blocking driveway entrances at General Dynamics and refused to leave.
Cold start to the week out there. It was cold this morning, but how cold is it going to be tonight?
Yeah, Chief Meteorologist Rachel Frank joining us now with the answer. Rach?
Still chilly, but not as cold tonight as it was this morning when we woke up with temperatures widespread in the 20s and even some upper teens. So we got the worst of the cold behind us. Still, I think the next couple of days are going to be cooler than average before a late week warm up. On the radar, you'll see what looks like a big old mess out there, but the radar's bark is worse than the bite. There is a chance for some sprinkles or flurries out there in parts of the state, but the air is really dry. So in some cases, what you're seeing on radar is evaporating before it reaches the ground. But there could be a sprinkle or flurry up here through Killingly, down through Plainfield, and also in northwestern Connecticut. It is possible that this is making it down through the ground here in Canaan, at least in spots. And we'll see the chance for that over the next couple of hours or so. And then as we head towards daybreak tomorrow, we're just talking about another chill. Upper 30s in Torrington, right around the 40-degree mark right now in the Hartford area. Low temperatures, again, not as cold out there tonight. Upper 20s for Windham, but near 30 degrees in the Hartford area, and mid to upper 30s for the shoreline. And tomorrow, we're partly cloudy. It is a bit milder, but it will be breezy. High temperatures in the upper 40s, but feeling more like the low 40s when you factor in that wind. We'll talk about that late week warm up and timing out some rain for part of the weekend coming up.
Thank you, Rachel. Scam warning for Eversource customers tonight. It's urging people to be aware of imposter scams. Scammers are calling customers posing as an Eversource representative and threatening to shut off power. You might also get an email with the same message, but it includes a fake website. If you get a call or email like this, you should contact Eversource directly on your own to confirm if it's real or a scam.
Poll workers across Connecticut are working on recounts of 2023 municipal races, with voter turnout in these elections very low. Many of the races came down to slim margins that trigger this process automatically. Take Town Council in Vernon, for instance. The races ended up in an exact tie after votes were hand counted again. Election officials say in past years the policy was a coin flip, but instead Vernon now opting for a runoff election in 2 weeks to make the call this time. And here in the capital city, Hartford's poll workers were busy going over votes today. Tuesday's results too close to call when it came to council members. The process is monitored from start to finish, and paper ballots, the gold standard for election security, make recounts in Connecticut straightforward. This recount is for minority party representation on the council, meaning the top 3 vote getters who are not members of the majority party get a seat. Today
kicks off National Crash Responder Safety Week, and the Connecticut Department of Transportation is asking you to slow down and protect those who protect you. The DOT is reminding everyone about the state's Move Over law, which requires all drivers to slow down for first responders or tow truck drivers and move over if safe to do so. Every year in Connecticut, there are more than 100,000 crashes where responders are working close to oncoming traffic.
Well, new tonight, Connecticut's Energy Marketers Association is sharing concerns over a proposed ban of the sale of gasoline-powered cars here in the state. The association says if it's passed, the cost of gasoline would increase for those who can't afford to drive electric vehicles. They say it would also increase the cost of food, electricity, home heating fuel, and many other goods and services.
I'm just asking our legislators to not pigeonhole us in a corner where we're doing one thing and not looking at the big picture. There's a much larger picture here that is ignoring all of the negative parts of electrification. I'm not saying there aren't positives, but there are definitely negatives.
The state's General Assembly is set to vote on the matter November 28th.
Gas prices are still falling in Connecticut. Average prices in Hartford have fallen 6 cents a gallon in the last week, averaging $3.30 a gallon. The national average is also falling, but remains slightly higher at $3.33 a gallon.
Still to come here on the